Hey guys, Tommy G, middle-aged millennial. It's nice out there today. Okay, so we got some nice fresh air coming off the ocean here at the Gold Coast. So, guys, we've got a session today with Foody, Nutritionist, and Western Murphy, our resident nutritionist. And today we're going to be talking about what you crave. Now, we could be talking about many things that you crave. It could be food is the obvious one that comes to mind. I mean, I tend to crave chocolate. Love chocolate. Fortunately, chocolate's good for me. And the darker, the better. Or better, if you're Australian. And I'm taking about 80-90% at the moment, and an organic one. In fact, I might, if I do grab it, I'll have to put it back and it'll melt out here in the heat. So I'm also going to let Anne know that we're actually on air. I didn't text her like I normally would beforehand and say, Anne, I'm about to jump on, are you ready? So she could be, let me just check if she's around. No, can't see her there. Let me get my other phone, back in a sec. Okay, I'm back. Whew. Drinking this Prolon. That's not a product push, by the way. There she is. She's watching now. This is giving me my glucose every day. So, as far as cravings go, if anybody's going to have them, it's probably going to be me, because I'm on a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. Dr. Longo's diet, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to put this down here, hopefully without creating a problem for the camera. Let's go and see if Anne is ready to come on. I'm going to add her. Add. So, yeah, I mean, I did have certain cravings as usual. It's day 2 on Tuesday. Today's Wednesday here on this side of the world. It's Wednesday morning, and I've had certain cravings yesterday. But there's certain things that you can do to curb those, because otherwise I could have gone down the pleasure route versus the purpose route. I'm very much locked into eating for purpose right now, strictly according to the FMD that I'm currently on. So,
Okay.
hey, Anne,
Hey.
good late afternoon. I can see a bit of sun coming in off the distant side there.
Yeah,
Is it your window or is it your light? Oh, it's a
that's
light.
the window.
It's
See?
damn,
Yeah.
I've forgotten to get my earphones. Just give me 30 seconds. I'm going to get my earphones, and if you can talk about cravings, what are we really talking about? What people craving? We're back in a sec.
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing when it comes to cravings. Are they about food? Sometimes. But a lot of times they have nothing to do with food. Hey, Sean, how are you? Yeah, a lot of times cravings actually have nothing to do with food in all reality. There's a lot of things that can cause cravings that are actually lifestyle or life caused. And that's something, when you become aware of that, then what happens is you have choices. You have choices when you become aware. You can make choices as to, am I going to have food, or now there's a lot of distortion now since you plugged in.
Get out. Serious?
Yeah, unplug it for a second.
All right. Unplugged. That's better? We try again.
In a way, yeah.
Oh, God. All right.
Let's try plugging in one more time. Yeah, it's distorted.
Ugh. All right. I'm taking them out.
Just unplug it. Just unplug it, Tommy.
Done.
There you go.
Not the
There
first
you
time I've been
go.
told that. Unplug it, will you?
unplug it.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so here's the thing with cravings. Can they be about food? Yeah, but typically 9 times out of 10, they're not. They have to do with other things, lifestyle things. And what I love is when you learn this and you're aware, then you have options that you're not aware of until you become aware of what the other things that can be causing the cravings are. You
Right.
know, so
This is interesting because right
so
now I'm in that. Sorry to get you mid-sentence, but um, right now I'm in that state. So I'm doing the 5-day fasting mimicking diet. Right, it's the third time I'm doing it. A prolong, Dr. Longo's diet, where I'm taking 1,100 calories on Monday, and then it goes down to 800 calories for the next 4 days. I'm at Wednesday. I come through. Usually Tuesday is the tough bit when I'm switching fuel tanks from more glucose carb type to then fat.
into ketosis and fat, yeah.
Right, right. And I've been measuring it and whatever, and doing a quick Middleaged Millennial download on that each morning, with pricking my fingers and whatever else. But the cravings, it's funny. I come into it knowing that I'm doing this. So psychologically, I know cravings and stuff, forget it. When I'm not in that mode, I'm sort of like, oh, the nuts are there, and I go and pick on the nuts, and I'll grab that. And I feel like a bit of chocolate. I'll grab a bit of chocolate, and I'm sort of snacking away, right? But I knew this mode. But my body did talk to me yesterday, not as loudly as it has in the past. It said, hey, Tommy, it's like, knock, 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 knock. Or is it my stomach that's talking to me, or is it some other emotional thing that's talking to me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. To your
Yep.
point.
So a lot of times it's emotional things. Exactly.
Right.
Hey, Jill, how are you? So, yeah. So here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of things that can cause cravings. So let's talk about some kind of general things. First of all, thirst can cause cravings. Okay. A lot of times we think we're hungry, and if we would drink some water and wait a half an hour, we find, oh, you know what? I'm not really hungry. So that's a pretty common one. Hydration is so important, and so many people, a lot of people are, just dehydrated. And thirst is actually the last signal of dehydration. If you're feeling thirsty, you're like at the last stages of dehydration.
Isn't that strange? I mean, it's like, well, I'm not thirsty, I won't drink. And if I did that, I'd be drinking less than a liter a day.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, when if you just drink regularly, like I always have my water with me, and I just drink it throughout the day.
Right. So not only you're hydrating, but you're also satiating yourself away from over calorie.
Yeah. So it helps with cravings. It can help with, muscle aches. It can help with headaches, hunger, all of that. So that's one thing. Another thing is lack of what I call primary food.
Oh.
Okay. And primary food are those things in life that feed you, because everything is nutrition. Everything is either giving to you or taking from you. Okay. So primary foods come down to relationships, work, spirituality or connectedness, and movement. And do they feed you? Do your relationships make you feel good, or are they a drain? Are they a struggle? Does your work, is that in alignment with your core values? And if it isn't, do you have tools for yourself that you can keep yourself from getting all caught up in that emotional baggage of that? Do you have a feeling of connectedness? And I'm not talking religion, but some kind of spirituality, some kind of something connected bigger than it's just me. And your movement, is your movement making you feel? You should not work out to beat yourself up. You should not come out of there like totally fucking exhausted, like, oh my God,
great.
That's not good. That's not good. We've a lot of people believe that that's a good thing. Well, it's not,
Yeah.
And when any of these things, these primary foods are out of balance or not being met, what happens is we end up craving to try and like, fill those holes, so that can be a big, and think about this. Think about a time, hey Diane, think about a time when you were really, really like happy with something, you know, or you're really into it and you can get so easily caught up in it and like you forget about eating or like, oh yeah, I'm not
Oh
really
yeah.
hungry.
Oh yeah.
Think about a little kid, you know, like I can remember when I was a kid and even my kids, like I'd be like, hey, it's dinner time. And especially my youngest daughter, she'd be like, no, I'm playing. I'm not hungry, you know?
Right. I'm
And
stimulated somewhere else. I don't need
yeah.
food
And
stimulation. I'm not
if you
bored.
make, right. And if you like make the kid come in to eat, they don't want to eat. It's like, yeah, I'll take a mouthful and go, you know?
Right. Right.
They're, they are being nourished by life, by other things, you know? So that's something that, you know, we need to really look at. Like, what are we feeding ourselves with? You know, because like I
Right.
said, everything is nutrition. Everything's nutrition.
So it's a
Then
holistic.
we have,
You're holistically eating, even
yeah,
though it's not nutrition through the mouth. It's
right,
every other
right.
part of your life. If it's kind of sorted, you're not going to overeat.
Yeah. Hey, Giselle. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, so that's another, you know, that's another thing. Then, okay, another part of this is, and this has a lifestyle component, emotional component, and a food component. And we talk about this in our mentor with, you know, with Brian and Carrie, yin and yang. Okay. And I've been teaching this for 8 years now with people. Okay. I even have, I'm going to show this diagram. So yin and yang, like I said, it can be related to lifestyle. It can be related to emotions. It can be related to foods. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at like, you know, what is yin? Okay. And you're familiar with yin and yang, right?
Yep. Yep.
So when we have yin, yin is, it's like kind of light, you know, like it's airy, it's
Yeah.
it can be very expanding, a
Easy,
feeling of
flowing.
lightness, elevation in mood, you know. Um, so you think about some activities like, you know, yoga and meditation and
Yeah.
breathing work. They're
Doing
very,
all
you know,
those.
they lighten you, you know.
Yep.
Let's look at some foods, and I'm going to bring this up here now. So we
Oh,
have yin foods,
drugs,
okay?
alcohol, coffee.
Drugs, alcohol,
Love it.
caffeine,
Sugar. Awesome.
sugar, okay?
Don't get to dairy.
Yeah, so
Uh,
this here and above, this is yin foods, okay? Then we have
oh.
here, these are balancing foods right here. And if you see like grains, it's kind of gradient. We have the grains and the leafy vegetables and your fruits and nuts, and they kind of, they're leading towards the yin. And then we have down here grains, root vegetables, beans, fish, they're leaning towards the yang. And when you look at the yang, what do you have? You've got poultry, you've got hard cheese, you've got red meat, eggs, and salt.
Arr.
Yang is
Arr.
very contractive, it's dense, it's heavy.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
some of the when you look at some of the yang like exercise, it's your weightlifting, your boxing, it can be your running, it can be, you know, these really contracting intense things, you know. So what
Go
happens a
hard.
lot of times is, you know, so we have, think about this, say we have somebody like they do a lot of yoga and a lot of meditation and they're vegetarian or vegan, so everything they do is up here. And if you ever, we all know these people, like they're so freaking airy. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. And they're trying to have a conversation and like, oh, do. And it's like, eat a fucking burger, man. Like bring yourself down. Because what happens is cravings are not wrong. Cravings are our body. And we've talked about this before. Our bodies are trying to maintain homeostasis, balance.
Right. Right.
Okay. So it needs an extreme. Because if you're like really airy fairy, right?
Yeah.
If you go to something that's a balanced food, it's not enough to bring you in balance. It's kind of like a pendulum. So now we need to swing back. So we need yang. Then we all know, you know, these, you think about these people that are, you know, and a lot of times it's men they're very, uptight and very, hardwired and angry and
Very yang, very meat.
confrontational. They're so stuck, yeah, and they're eating like the red meat and the, salt and all this stuff. And they need, they need to go do a yoga class, or they need to go have some fucking sugar or something, because they need that extreme. So when you look at this, if you're eating these balanced foods, you're going to have more balance. Okay. And this happened with a client a few years back. He had been making great progress, and I get his revisit form the day before his session, and I'm reading it and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Because he was like, he's craving like chocolate cake, and like he had all this stuff that he's craving, and I'm like, what is happening? So he sits down and we start talking, and he starts telling me like his dad had surgery and he was going to need another surgery, and he was already in bad health to begin with, and then his dad's on a fixed income, and my client was like, he took care of his dad's affairs while he was at the hospital with dad. Little brother, who's getting married and doesn't even have a job, took dad's credit card and charged a $4,000 honeymoon. And my client's like, I can't pay for this. Dad can't pay for this. My business is struggling. My marriage is struggling. And I'm like, now I know why the cravings. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, think about when we talked about cravings.
I want to feel good.
Yeah, and yin and yang. And it was funny because I was thinking of food stuff that he could do. He looks at me, and I love this because I was like, oh my God, he got it, He says, wow, I need to stop talking about getting back to yoga and do it. I need to stop talking about getting back to Tai Chi and do it. I need to take my little girl out and play with her in the grass. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And I was like, that's awesome.
Wow.
I said, now let's talk about some foods. Let's add some roasted vegetables. Let's add some fruits. Let's add some things that are going to bring a little more stability in,
Foundation for the rest. Okay.
Here's another one. This is one that I experienced. Okay. This was a few years ago. I took my daughter into New York City. I drove there. Now, if anybody knows me, I don't like cities. I don't drive in cities. I don't do cities, right?
Yeah.
So we're in New York City, and
about as crazy as it gets as far as
oh my God. Oh yeah. And I'm trying to get out of the city. I'm trying to get through, I guess it's the Lincoln Tunnel, right? And there's like 6 lanes of traffic, and I need to go here, and there's this cop, and she keeps pointing me here. So I have to keep going around this big square because there's all one ways. So, and I got cars literally cutting me off like this. Oh my God. It was a nightmare. I went through this square 3 times before I finally get through the tunnel. Well, by then I had creases in here. My shoulders were up past my ears. I was gripping the steering wheel so hard, my hands hurt and I couldn't let them go. My jaw was tight because I was gritting my teeth. My toes were curled. That's how tense I was. So get through the tunnel and I start driving. I got a 2.5-hour drive, and it's just me and my daughter, and she didn't have a driver's license at that point. And I started getting a migraine. So I'm like, this is not good. So I stop at, a rest station because I had to go to the bathroom, and come out, and I'm like, oh, I know.
Vodka.
Well, yeah, right. I'm thinking I can't, I need to release this,
Right.
Yeah, I could have, there's a lot of things that I could have physically done, but they would have taken time. And I'm in it's real industrial in North Jersey. It's crap, Right. So I'm like, I'm good. There's a Starbucks there. I'm going to get a Starbucks. Okay.
Starbucks.
Yeah. So I'm standing in line, and Tyler's looking at me, and I said, and I ordered not a coffee, a cafe mocha. And she's looking at me, and she's like, you don't drink that. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to defuse, right? So I get my coffee, and I'm like, oh, cinnamon Cinnabon. Did you ever have one of them?
Don't
And
make
she's
me
looking
sound
at,
good.
it's been 25 years since I had a Cinnabon. And she's looking
Right
at
next to
me
the
like,
Subways and the
she's
Kentucky
like,
Fried Chicken.
yeah, she's looking at me like, Mom, you don't eat that. So we get it. And I sit down, I take a sip of the coffee and a bite of the
Cinnabon.
Cinnabon. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really good. And I'm chewing and I'm being very mindful.
Right.
And I can feel myself.
Starting
So
to-
then I take another sip and another bite, and I'm like, it's okay. The third sip and the third bite, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like this is chemicals. It's gross.
Right.
But
Right.
I was level.
Huh.
And I was like, okay, you ready to go? I stood up, I picked everything up, threw it out, and we left. I knew I needed to get lighter. I knew I needed to get myself in balance, and I did not have the time or even the place to do it any other way but crap food.
Right. So is that treating a symptom or is that treating a problem?
Well, I think it's, in a way, it's kind of both. It's how I'm helping my body. See, cravings are not wrong or right. Cravings are the body
Like
sending
feelings.
a message. The body is sending a message saying, yo, I need help. Hey, Diane, go back and watch what you just missed. Some two good stories. You know, they're never wrong.
Right. There's
Okay.
some urge. There's an urge coming from somewhere. You can't judge it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
your
coming
body's
from
talking
somewhere.
To you. Your body's
Yeah.
talking to you. But what
So
are you gonna
they're
do
never wrong or right. It's learning what they are and where it's coming from. It's good
Hey,
to see you, Diane. And then being able to move on from that, you know. You know, some other things.
Right. So
Go ahead.
you know how much of this is then people. You know, people say, "Oh, my body's craving this. I need alcohol. I need chocolate. I need that Cinnabon. I need." It's not emotional. My body is saying it needs this right now. And I'm thinking, I got to tell you, a lot of the time I go, oh, "That's bullshit."
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, because it is emotional. It's coming from somewhere. It's the body sending a message for something.
Right.
You know, and that's where it comes that when you learn, then you learn how to diffuse that.
Right.
Sounds good, Diane. Start here and then do the replay. Yeah, because you missed some good
that's
stuff
it
in the
then.
beginning there.
Yeah. So then, how you got a choice of making that kind of pleasurable decision versus, or it could be combine it, or that purposeful decision. And
right. So when
which?
you have that understanding, then you have the options. You know, sometimes for me, it's like, you know what? I need to get my ass outside.
Right.
And it's gone. You know, and then there are times where I'm like, okay, I'm just doing this food wise because you know what? Giving into it sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. It's because you're just listening to the message from your body. But the more you can have balance in all areas of your life, the less cravings. Here's another. Okay, so a lot of times, and this happens a lot of times with entrepreneurs and with more executive type people. Hey, Lori. You know, they'll be like, well, I was so good at work. So good means maybe they didn't eat breakfast or they didn't have much breakfast or they had a sugar-laden breakfast. You know, they didn't eat much lunch. I had a salad or I had, some little thing. I didn't have any snacks. I didn't, this or that or the other thing. And then they get out of work and they're starving. So I had one client, she would either not eat breakfast or her breakfast was like a bagel or like something that's really, set your body up like for a sugar crash, and then her lunch would be like a salad and maybe a little bit of fish. And like, that was it. And then she had this drawer with like some crackers and stuff like that. And she would eat some of that sometimes in the afternoon. But then when she would get in her car to drive home, she would have all these cravings and she would stop at a convenience store and buy like, a bag of chips and a box of cookies, like all this stuff. And she'd eat on the way home. And then she would get home and she would be either not want to make dinner or she'd make dinner and then she'd be snacking afterwards, because a couple things are going on here. First of all, her body has not gotten the energy it needs, the caloric intake it needs to function.
Right.
So it's running on a deficit of energy. So her body's saying, okay, we need energy. Okay. So yeah, it's going to send cravings. Okay.
Right.
The other
Maybe
thing,
she's been running off her carb tank. I mean, like me yesterday, I've had to switch
yeah.
from carbs to switch tanks to.
Well, and if you're, and
fat, right?
if you don't know, if your body is not metabolically resilient, it can't make that switch. So it needs the carbs.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So don't worry about the fat. We want some more of this stuff.
Yeah. Plus
Little
the
bugs
other
in your
thing
stomach
going on
saying,
here.
Where's our normal shitty diet? Come on.
Right.
Bring it in.
Right. The other thing going on here is now we're in stress mode, and stress mode is going to cause cravings. When you're stressed, it's going to cause craving. It's a lifestyle thing. Again, it's your body saying, yo, I need something here.
Right.
I need something.
Right.
You know?
So what do you want? What do you need versus what do you want?
Right. And another thing that can happen, you know, with this is, you know, so, okay, let me tell you what happened with her. I was like, okay, so let's get some more nutrition in during the day first, okay? And if you feel you need to be eating something before you get home for dinner, pack it. Take it with you.
Right.
Have it be nutrient dense. Have there be some kind of fruit in there. Preferably, like, let's have some nuts and seeds, so you're getting your proteins, you're getting your fats, you know, something. I gave her some, like, energy, like protein ball recipes, and have, you know, the original fast food. What's that? Fruit
Right.
or vegetables cut up, you know, like some carrots,
food, right?
whatever. Yeah. Have that packed, have that ready. So guess what? I'm good to go.
It's that environmental thing, right? What's easy to grab, especially those moments of stress or need. You're going to go what's near you, right? You're going to clutch at. So the kitchen, and we went through your drawers about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we were impressed. And then now we're making sure that wherever we're going, where the stuff that's good for you is nearby. If I can just expand on that a little further too, because like I've got my executives, right? And these guys are leading, they've got a lot of pressure coming their way. They interpret it different ways depending on their mindset. Thing is, there's pressure on, there's probably going to be stress correlated to that.
Yeah.
Stress is going to be correlated to food, booze, need something to perk me up because I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this and I got to do that. So I have to design something where, like you've said, with like some nuts and fruit, but these guys are traveling or, you know, they're going and meeting to meeting.
You know what? But here's the thing, and you know, I talked about this earlier on my Instagram. That's a matter of priorities, Tommy. Okay? They can make that time, they can put in that effort. It's a matter of priorities. Okay?
It is.
And when you're traveling, there are still ways to do that. Okay? I traveled, I was gone Thursday to Sunday, you know. I packed food with me, and when I got there, guess what? Good old Google, I found places that I can get shit that I need so that I'm okay.
Right. So there's a couple of ways. I mean, there can be, even like Peter Rouse is saying, he prepares his food. Now, the thing is, Pete's got kind of all the time in the world. He's not working in the corporate world. And, you know, he's taken time off and not sabbatical, but he's taken time off to bring up his little child. For my guys, I'm thinking, okay, first step is let's get some good stuff going in. So, in fact, I came across a company called, as I was searching, and I know you've got a few as well, because I used to be Isogenics, right? And that was great because it was well packaged, but now there's another one I found called 180 Nutrition, coming out of Australia, shipping around the world. And they've got their own podcast and so on. And these guys are all about how do you get clean, quick food going on if someone hasn't packed their nuts and fruits and maybe they're traveling and it's not allowed in a certain country or whatever. But there are things out there that are healthy now. I wouldn't suggest powder form all the time because you're losing some of losing
Yeah, well, that stuff,
fiber.
it's processed, so you don't want to, I mean, if it's, for a short period of time, yeah,
Yeah, well, some of it's processed, not all of it. Some of it actually seems to be pretty good, a lot better than where they're coming from as a first
Right,
step. I'd say then
right.
go from good to great, like you suggest then.
Yeah,
Let's
good,
go
better,
totally
best.
organic and fiber and pack your
Yeah,
lunch, do this, prepare better, but step by step, getting them in the right
yeah,
direction.
and that's a huge part of it. Another thing is that deprivation, like the diet mentality or the
Oh,
I
God,
can't
calorie
eat this, I
restriction.
can't eat that. Yeah, and just restricting food, and cutting out whole food groups. Guys, we can't do that. The reality is you can't do that. We need all of the food groups.
Yep.
Have it be real food though. But when you're coming from diets and a place of restricting, what happens is, so first of all,
Unless you're fasting and there's a medicinal
well,
reason
yeah,
why.
but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
totally different thing.
Yep.
We got, so many people, they're following this diet or this program or this or that, and they're restricting, well, I'm not eating this or I can't eat that or blah, blah, blah. And you can do anything for a predetermined amount of time. Okay.
Yep.
But
Yes, it's
eventually
planned and
you're going to
prepared.
get to a point where, oh, I really want to have that cracker. I really want a piece of that cake, or, oh, it's my birthday and I really want to have that
Don't
or
get to
whatever.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. And
don't
what
create that
happens is
situation.
when you get there, like your body is just, you've restricted so much that it's just, your body is like, holy shit, I can't do this anymore. It's too stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't live like that.
Well, you can't teach a drowning person how to swim, right?
Right. So, when you're coming from that type of a place, that can actually accelerate cravings, because when
Right.
you can't have or can't do, what happens? You want more. If I say to you, Tommy, you can't have that, then it's like, oh, wait a minute. You start
First, I'm going
thinking
to go,
about it.
what the
Like, you
fuck?
want it. You want more. You want it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Then
And
there's that
that's,
emotional response to being told what to do.
yeah.
Nobody likes that to
Yeah.
varying degrees.
And the other part of, a lot of these, like I've had people like, oh, well, I'm going to do the Whole30. Okay, great. So it's teaching you whole foods, but they're not getting into the emotions. They're not getting into the mindset. They're not getting into what are you telling yourself about this stuff, So you're going to come to the end of that and think, oh, I can go on and do it on my own, but you haven't changed anything. And you're looking at, oh, well, I can't have this, I can't have that as restrictions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then
it's going to
replacing it.
make more cravings.
Right. And this is where, if you look at just vegetables, I mean, I was a yang eater, right? Until I had my health wake-up call, thinking I was fit, and, I was doing the triathlons. Big meat eater, loved it. Did the roast on Sundays, way too much, and it wasn't always clean product, right? Not like we had 100 plus years ago when it was clean, right? Before it became an industry.
Yeah.
And I would, where was I headed with this? So I'd be getting stuck in those foods, whereas, and they're highly dense, as we know, it's like so acidic, it's so hard for your body to break down, and it's only one part of the animal, it's always the muscle, right?
Right.
The
Right.
rest of the great stuff like liver. But if you have vegetables, it's going to satiate you because there's a lot of fiber in there, there's a lot of clean out, but it's going to be nutrient rich as well. So you're going to get full up. And my palate changed.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's
guys
what
I'm coaching
that
now,
does happen.
they're going, oh man, it's like I showed him his pH 360 and he's gone, dude, because we found out that his health type was a guardian. And so it went from, he's been eating a huge amount of meat because I've been watching it through a tracker called Chronometer, where I'm seeing all these nutrients that are going in over 2 weeks to baseline him. And it's like heavy meat, low on D, low on omega. He's been concerned about what it is that, family sort of genetic things that have played havoc in the family in the past. And I'm looking at it and going, oh boy, let's have a look at this list. I'm glad we're together because we're going to start changing some of this stuff. But he then did a big step and pulled a hammy in the first week. Man, I can't do this. So, dude, relax. We're going to do it step by step.
Yeah.
You know, it's taken you how many years to get here? We're going to start to turn the boat around. We can't turn it on the dime, and you're going to pull an emotional.
And that's and the palate change is huge. Like I had that. I had a client.
That's where I was headed. Yeah.
She, you know,
palate changes.
I started like, okay, let's get some green leafy vegetables in. Let's get, you know, and it was so funny. She went on vacation with her husband and her sister and brother-in-law. And she was like, you know, so we weren't doing the cooking and blah, blah, blah. So I wasn't eating and she's like, you know, we're going home. And all I could think of was, I can't wait to have some kale. She's like, I was craving kale. And I'm like, yeah.
It happens, right?
Yeah.
So
I said to her, I'm like, I'm not surprised.
Your palate changes. And I don't know whether it's like also the bugs in your biome that are now knocking on the door, the new ones going, hey, we eat carrots or we eat this. You know, so it's good for you because we're good bugs for you because we shit stuff that you actually need in your genome. Yep. So feed us now the good stuff. But yeah, you need that time for it to change, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the bottom line is, you know, taking that time to learn what's really going on here, what's really going on with me, you know, because that right there can be a huge thing. Another thing that can cause cravings is seasons, because ideally we eat seasonally, you know, so, you know, it can be like a lack of minerals from, you know, so we're going from winter into spring. So a lot of times what happens is we're lacking some of the minerals from some of the what's out now. You got the shoots coming out, like all the little tender sprouts and the shoots and all that, and the berries will be coming in soon. Well, here's the thing. You start eating that stuff now, okay? It clears out the mucus that is built up over the winter. Our bodies build up mucus to kind of capture germs because we have more germs. And you know, because we're in closer quarters with more people in the winter, so our body naturally builds up more mucus, so it's holding more germs. And if we don't release that mucus, that's what leads to summer colds and allergies and things like that. So when you start eating the seasonal stuff, what's in your area now, that helps flush the body. And it can lessen the cravings, you know, when it's starting to get warmer. Like in the summer, I eat mainly raw because that just feels good to me. It's lighter because of the heat. It helps me feel more energized because it's lighter food. It's cooling, you know, but when it starts getting cooler, I start craving heavier things like your root vegetables because they're grounding and they're warming, you know, maybe more meats. I eat very little meat in the summer, more like meat type things in the winter, like your soups and your heavier types of you know, foods. I start craving them as it starts getting colder out, you know, because that's going to help my body, you know, stay warmer and build the mucus it needs and all this. So, you know, there are so many things that can influence cravings. And when you look at it, very little of it actually has to do with food. Now, here's one thing, going back to that yin and yang. Yeah. Think about this. There are some traditional meals that have yin and yang built in. Steak and potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Hamburger on a roll with French fries.
Yeah, not that we're going to go down there, but anyway.
Look.
Right. Oh, yeah, look at that.
You know? Yeah. And a lot of times, what do you want? Especially if you've had a more yang, a heavier meal, after it, you want wine or coffee or, you know, something like dessert, something that's lightening, that's more yin, so that it brings balance to you.
Right. There it is, right? The yin and yang of food, craving,
and life.
And it's only a certain percentage that is related to the actual food. A lot of the emotional stuff going on. There could be, and it could be because of the situation. You get pressured, you got triggered, you've got you know, you had an argument with somebody, and so you might crave a drink.
Yeah.
You know, to relax. And
So
I've
what
been
you
down
can
that
do
path.
when you have that stuff? What are some things you can do? You know, you can breathe. You can go work out. Go for a walk.
Go work out.
Get outside. You know.
Go for a walk.
Or make a conscious decision. I'm going to give into this craving, but then you got to realize, like, giving into it isn't just like keep on going and going. Like, you know, have a brownie, have 2 brownies, have a drink, have 2 drinks. It's be mindful of it. Like, look at that. It took me 3 bites and 3 sips. It took me 3 bites and 3 sips of that Cinnabon and that cafe mocha, whatever crap it was, right? I was mindful. I knew what I needed to do. I knew where it was coming from, and I knew what it would do for me.
Right.
That third bite, it was like, oh, it tastes like chemicals, and I was already like,
I've done that. I've done that as well. Where it's like, I don't know what the situation is, and some anxiety or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm eating this and going, Tommy, you know this stuff's like shit. It's like not really cool for you. Like, okay, it's had its medicinal effect on me for now.
Yep. It's serving its purpose.
And now it's like,
it's serving its purpose.
Yeah.
Like now today, I was kind of having some cravings, and I spent a lot of time inside doing some work and stuff, and I had my phone call. Fawn and I talk every Tuesday, and so we get on the phone call, and I'm like, okay, dude, you're coming on a hike with me because I need to get out of this house, because my daughter made these delicious ginger cookies, you know, and I had already eaten 2. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's because I need to move. I need to get outside.
So you changed your environment.
Yeah. So I put my Bluetooth on, and I said, okay, Fawn, we're going for a hike. And I went out into the woods.
Well, you got some endorphins going. You've got other hormones going to crank in to make you feel better rather than the food making
so
you
when
feel
I
better
came, you know, when I came in, I had no desire for the cookie anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I was good to go.
I mean, usually too, if you just give it that amount, that time, right?
Yeah.
To, you know, for me, I've got an FTO gene, which is the one that's connected to obesity. I can eat, and it's like it's a bit of a drug for me, even though I'm reasonably lean. But I can eat food and the nuts when they're there and the chocolate, and I'm going in. You know, I'm sort of like working through the day, and I'm grabbing it. Only times like now, like when I'm doing my FMD, where I'm going, dude, you don't even need it. You're not even hungry on Wednesday. I'm not even hungry for it. I don't need it. You know, so it's interesting to look that awareness thing, like you said. You know, looking from the other side. I think being aware, not judging it, knowing it's temporary. Change something. Change your environment. Change what you're doing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the bottom line with cravings.
There it is. What are you really craving in cravings? Right. Become aware, people. And
exactly.
Get some good habits there. Get some support. Get an environment around you when you're at home or when you're on the move. And you know, if there's execs out there that want some hand-holding help, happy to help. If there's anybody else, including some execs that want some help from probably a more tender hand than mine, then
I don't know, because I know I'm like, okay, let's get into your shit. I like working with entrepreneurs and executives, you know, that are like burned out, don't want to, you know, and they want to. They want to learn, like, okay, how do I take care of myself, not having somebody else take care of me.
I prefer to come to mama rather than their bro, you know. So
there you go.
Yeah, there we go. All right, and it's been really cool. Great idea to come up with this one for today. And I think it's kind of connected a bit to the purposeful eating versus the pleasure eating bit as well, right? Which we've done before. So be conscious of that. And well, look, one thing I think we should be doing is making sure that we're enjoying life, like kind of right here and
right now.
In fact, for you it'd be tonight. For me, it would be
today, right? Yeah. Yep.
So, okay. Thanks again. If anybody needs some help from you, they can just PM you, correct?
Yep. Yep.
direct message.
Just send me a
And
message.
Western Murphy.
Yep.
If you're looking at some help and to go more scientific about it, and maybe you're an exec that wants a bit of help as well right now, come over to this guy, Middle-Aged Millennial, on this page. There's also the Hill.me community, and there's an invitation only. You can PM me to see whether we also bring you into the Secret Men's Business exec.reset. So we're going to leave it there.
Yep.
Enjoy life right here, right now.
And have a great night.
Oh, have a great night. You changed the ending. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right here, right now.
Matt Atanasio. Bye.
Bye.